Hey everyone, Brian here with Heavy Lifting Marketing, and today I have the pleasure of being joined by Alejandro Pinto. He has his own moving company, Prime Movers, right out of Miami, and he is killing it in the market right now. We're going to take a full deep dive into everything he's doing right now and what he's done in the past to get here. So, if you're a moving company and you're looking to scale, this is the best place to start. Watch through, and I hope you guys enjoy. Pinto, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here. Yes, I'm ready.
Of
Ready for
course.
this conversation.
Amazing. So I actually got to know you a long time ago now. It's maybe been 4 or 5 years. And way back when we did a couple moves together. So we've had the joy of being on the same moving crew. But I'd love to start off with a little bit about your journey into the moving world. You now, of course, have a very successful business, but I understand you started by working for a couple dollars an hour doing moves. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story.
So before this journey, I was working as a mover for a different company, and yeah, it was hard days, some hard moves, and but then the dedication and to try to push for something better allowed me to go from a mover to a crew leader, and then to keep pushing allowed me to go from a crew leader to operations manager, and then I went from operations manager to general manager. So it was a lot of hard work, but I learned a lot from the moving world.
That's amazing. And how long did it take you to go through all of that? So you started as a mover, then you became a team lead, then operations manager, and then general manager. How long did that take you?
So from when I started as a mover, and let's say couple of months after, I was already a team lead or crew lead, as this other company used to call them.
Amazing.
And then let's say 4 months after, the opportunity for operations manager got open, and then the owner called me and he said that he wanted me to be the right hand of the operations manager. I went back home, I consulted, I was telling some friends, oh my God, I'm so happy of this opportunity. And one of my friends came, he's like, well, you already have the experience. Why don't you offer yourself for the operations manager position?
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? I think I can do this. So I went back the next day, spoke with the boss, and I was like, I think I can do operations manager. Like if you want me here, I'm open to do this position. And he was like, okay, Alejandro, like I wasn't thinking about this, but it sounds like a good idea. But you need more experience. So I want you to hop in the truck for every single move that we have if you have the opportunity. So in the next, let's say 4 months, I was doing several moves a day for a really like for that short period of time. I was doing a lot of jobs. So it was like some hard days. I got a lot of support, but definitely some hard days. So let's say 4 months after I started, I got the position of operations manager.
That's
And from that, I was, let's say, a year and a half, maybe a year. And then I got the position of general manager.
okay. And now, how did your responsibilities change during that time? Because when you're a mover, that of course makes sense. You're showing up, you're doing the move, you're wrapping, you're packing, and you're doing all of that. When you became a team lead, did you then also pick up the truck? I'm curious how your responsibilities changed step by step.
So, being a mover, as you're saying, your job is to make sure everything is packed, wrapped, well protected. But you don't have, for example, communication with the customer. You don't have communication with your team that is, let's say, backstage. So you're just there taking care of the moment of the job. When you're a team leader or a crew leader, then you're talking to the customer. You're making sure that the customer is signing whatever document they need to sign. For example, a release of liability or end of the move checklist or whatever document that the customer needs to sign. You're there, and you're also the point of contact between your office and the customer. So if your office needs something from the customer, they will contact you. And if the customer needs something from the office, it would go through you. Besides that, it's also making sure that the movers are doing the proper protection, that the truck is well organized, and when you finish, making sure that they like you do a quick inventory, making sure everything is there, making sure that the back of the truck is well organized. And just so yeah, that would be the difference between mover and crew leader. Then with operations manager, now even though you sometimes are jumping in the truck to go to some jobs whenever it's necessary, now the job is more about dispatching, making sure that when the movers arrive, the truck is ready for them to leave with all the supplies that they might be needing for that move. And if they do go to a move and they need extra supplies, then you're gonna be going there to take the supplies that they need. And it's more about making sure all the moves go according as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be a little bit of operations manager. And then general manager is now about the numbers. So you have the KPIs. So you have to check everything in a bigger picture. And then you have your meetings with the operations manager. So it's a little bit more not as close to the moving trucks. It's more like about making sure that the numbers are healthy.
Yeah. At that point, when you're the general manager, it sounds like you're almost running the business.
Exactly. So in this case, the owner of that company wasn't here in Miami. So I was running the business. So I would be meeting with him once, twice a week. And we had an office team. So I would be also meeting with them, also meeting with the crew leads, the operations manager. Yeah, making sure everyone is understanding, making sure everyone understands what they have to do and everyone is, yeah, like being a healthy team.
That's amazing. And it's almost perfect because I'm sure you needed every one of those different jobs to get to where you are now. If you didn't have the moving experience or the team lead experience, you wouldn't understand how to motivate your movers currently and all of that stuff. So that's awesome. That was a couple years there with another moving company. What made you want to go all in, become an entrepreneur, and start your own moving company?
Okay, so first, what you were mentioning, I think that's something really important to say. When you already have experience and then you're managing a team, in specifically in this world, I think your team needs to know that even though you're not in the truck, you know what you're talking about. Like this guy earned her strips, for
Hmm.
example, because he knows what he's doing, even though he might not be doing every day as me as the mover of every day. But this guy knows what he's saying because he did it in the past. And a lot of the guys that used to work in the other company with me now work with me in my own company. So
Amazing.
it's like we work shoulder by shoulder.
It's a respect thing at the end of the day.
Yes, I
They learn
think
to respect that you can do a really good job and then you can rely on each other. I think that's crucial in any moving team is if you feel like you can't rely on your colleagues, all
yes.
the moves are going to go bad. But when you know they've got your back, it goes a really long way.
I think that's super important to mention. And yeah, so what made me so at the end, the company that I was with, they wanted to take a different direction.
Mhm.
Okay. I think it is really important as a general manager. As general manager, you're not the owner. So it's really important to give the recommendations that you think that the business needs, but at the end, it's always going to be the owner's decision.
Of
So in
course.
this case, I was giving my recommendations. It was we were having some slow months. I think that we needed to do some changes. The owner saw some other changes. So we decided it was best for us to just to part ways. Okay. We're still friends. We have a great relationship. And then I was thinking, I was actually in my house thinking, okay, so what's the next step now? I already have experience as a operations manager. I already have experience as a general manager. So I started to apply to for other jobs as a manager, of this, of that. And I got some good interviews. I was actually about to be hired for a decent sized company. But then I was like, okay, but my experience is this, and I see a lot of potential in the moving world. So again, I always had some great friends, great company that usually would give me, we would sit down and we would chat and they would make me see other points of view that I wouldn't have, like from a different perspective.
Amazing.
So, so I had this and then it was like, you know what? Let me think. Maybe if I rent a truck and I already have the guys, I think we can make money over here. I think it's a great opportunity. And then I started doing some more research, and at the end, everything was just falling in the right place. And yeah,
And it's been a long road since then. How long have you been owning and operating Prime Movers?
If I'm not mistaken, I think a little bit more than 3 years.
Wow.
3 years, maybe. Yeah, a little bit around 3 years.
And
We could say
how's the journey been? Has it been a bumpy road or has it
it
been
is. It is a bumpy road, especially at the beginning. Part of the bumpy part at the beginning is when I started with the previous company. That company was already an established company. So I got the experience of a operations manager and general manager of a company that was already running.
Gotcha.
So to have a company that is still not running, it was difficult at the beginning because you don't know where to start. Now, if I would have had the knowledge that I have now at the beginning, it would have been a different journey. But I think that's part of the learning curve. That's part of what you need to understand to be where you are.
It's like we were talking about earlier, you have to earn your stripes. Like you said, if you
Exactly.
could do it again, it might not take you 6 months, it might only take you 3 months. So, for everyone watching, if it's your first 6 months of a business, I'd love to hear a little bit about what you did and what you might recommend someone else to do who's brand new to starting a moving company.
Okay, so at the beginning, I had a lot of customer from the previous business, which it gave me the opportunity to keep me not even busy because it was just like maybe a couple of jobs a month, but it was something there. So I thought that was okay. Then the community that I have was also calling, which I thought was okay. I always had that in the back of my head is I have to invest in marketing. I have to invest marketing. But I didn't know how. I wasn't sure because at the end I never did this with the other company. The other company there was someone in charge of that, so I would just have to come and check the numbers. But so I didn't know how to start. So it was pretty bumpy at the beginning, and then I got information from people that kind of knew how to do this, but they weren't doing it here in Miami
Mhm.
or even in the US, some of them. So they were recommending me things that for the market that, for example, we have here in Miami, it wasn't the right call. Okay. So I started investing in a small budget for Google Ads. First, I had a website that wasn't working. It was an ugly website. So big thing, you have to have a website that it works. One of the first things that you need to have a good website. So you have the website. Then we started with the budget. It was a small budget, and that's what they were recommending me. Let's start with this. We're gonna have some movement, and it didn't bring any movement. But it's because it was such a small budget that it didn't work.
How small was the
So
budget, if you don't mind me asking?
So that budget, so I was being helped by a friend. I'm from Venezuela. So I had a friend from Venezuela was helping me with this. So he knows what he's doing, but the mistake was that the budget for a company is not going to be the same there than here.
Of course.
So the budget that he was recommending me was for someone that is located there.
Mhm.
So it was like I don't know, like a $50 a month, $100 a month budget. So
Gotcha.
obviously I wasn't receiving anything.
Which in Miami might get you a couple clicks, and if you're lucky, you get one call.
One or two.
Yeah.
And that's it. So then, yeah, then I slowly started like changing, talking to different people, and then the budget was increasing. So you start getting more calls, and then you do increase more the budget and you get more calls. So now the difference is so like it's gigantic. And yeah, and that's part of the learning thing that yeah, you have to have.
And I think that's for all new business owners. You made a really great point is that with your previous company, someone was in charge of the marketing. It was already established firm and you just had to pick up the phone and make sure you close those clients and everything. But when you run your own business, you can do in-person marketing. Like you reached out to your own local community, you did that and that brought in business. But when you do paid marketing, as you can tell, it goes a long way. And you probably learned the hard way. You started with a very low budget, which was almost entirely wasted. And I imagine now you have a much more substantial budget and people managing it who know what they're doing, which I'm sure goes a really long way. Now, I'm curious because a lot of people who are just starting out the business, I'm sure they'd love to know paid marketing is amazing. Would you recommend starting that from the get go, or would you first recommend getting used to the business, getting a couple clientele? When's a good time to start with paid marketing?
So I think if this is the first time, like if you just started a business and you don't have experience, you might want to get some you might not want to start investing right away on marketing because you want to get their experience of, for example, being able to answer the call, being able to close the deal. So you need to have that experience. If I don't have experience in the moving industry and I start investing, first, I don't know how much I have to invest. Then, let's say I start getting calls, but I don't know how to close the deals because I don't know how much I'm going to charge. I don't have idea how much to charge. All of these expenses that you have as a moving company, you by the time is when you start. Okay, this is how much I'm going to spend on this. This is how much, but you need time for that. Okay, so I think if you don't have that experience, you're going to be burning that budget that you assign. Once you get more experience, once you know, okay, now I know how to close the deal, now I understand how my movers are working. Now I understand how much I need to charge. Then I think that's a good moment to start with a decent amount of a decent budget. And then you slowly start increasing it. Because, for example, let's say I just started a business and I just decided today to invest $20,000 on Google Ads and LSA, but you only have one truck and two employees.
Yeah.
That's going to bring you so an amount of work that you're not going to be able to fulfill. So then it's not a smart decision to invest that much if you don't have the team, if you don't have the logistic to take care of that amount of budget.
That's really smart. So you'd recommend slowly scaling it up. Start with something that you can take to begin with. Well, at the very beginning, don't do any paid marketing and learn the industry. Then, when you've learned the industry, use a small budget and increase that as you're ready to take on more moves,
You,
right?
you can at the end you can start with a small budget. Okay, that will put you right there. You're gonna be having conversations with potential customers. It's gonna teach you. Okay. So at the end, you can see it as an investment on the knowledge that you're gonna have, on the knowledge that you're slowly building yourself. Okay. So it could work having a small budget, but it could also work going out there and go to the buildings, introduce yourself, and it could be a mix of both. Starting with a small budget and putting yourself out there so the community can see you. Once you learn, once you feel confident, you increase your budget a little bit more. See what's the result, see how many calls you're getting. You have to check your conversion rate. Okay. And that's why it's really important to have a team behind you because as a mover owner, I don't have the knowledge that the marketing team has. So that's why it's a marriage. You have to do it with a proper partner.
I love that analogy. You've got to get married to a marketing team that really knows what's going on. And I'm really glad you mentioned conversion rate and those sorts of things because they're so important. Like you said, when you're a moving company owner or operator, you're in the day to day. I'm sure you were moving a lot the first couple of years you were doing the business, but it's still important to track all of your metrics. I speak with so many moving company owners who don't know what their metrics are. They don't know how many calls they're getting every month. They don't know how many they're converting, how many website visits. And I think when you have a really good understanding of that marketing side of things, or at least someone taking care of that for you, and you can just, like you said, look at your KPIs, you feel a lot more in control because you know exactly where your money's going and you know what the results are going to be. And then, like you said, you can increase it or decrease it as necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. It's really important to understand those numbers. There's a lot of companies that could be saying, yeah, I have a revenue of XYZ, okay, but they don't know where the money is going. So they don't know where they're spending the money. They don't. So it's really important to have those metrics. It's really important to have that and to understand it. That way, it's going to help you to attack. For example, let's say I'm getting 1,000 calls, but my conversion rate is 15%. So is it a problem because are the calls bad, or is it because I don't know how to convert them, or is the guy on the phone I'm not calling them fast enough, or is it that my prices are too high? So you have to be there for all these details if you want to have a healthy business.
That's such a great point. And the amazing thing about that is it's for any business. If you have the data, you can find out your weak points. Because, like you said, if you're getting 1,000 calls, but you're only booking 10 customers every month, Is it because of your sales team? Is it because of the quality of your leads, which is going to be your marketing team? Is it because of your price? And when you have the data, you can just look back at the data and see where the actual problems lie. So I really like that. It's almost like working backwards. When you have your data, take a look at everything and continually improve. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you also mentioned LSA. You said you do Google Ads and LSA. I see a big difference between those, and I speak with moving company owners every day. I'm curious, what do you see in quality between Google Ads and LSA?
Okay, so right now with this business, Prime Movers, we are not yet with LSA.
Mhm.
We are starting to get there, but with the previous business that I used to work, the previous moving company, we did both. And LSA, the quality of the lead is so much better than Google Ads.
Hmm,
So LSA might be more expensive per lead, but it's a better lead than Google Ads. Now, Google Ads will help you with your SEO. Okay. LSA will provide you a badge, which when a customer is looking in the website, they're going to see that you have a badge. So that means that it's a more trustworthy company.
gotcha.
But just because LSA, you have a better lead or a more quality lead, that doesn't mean that you're gonna stop doing Google Ads. It's you have to do both. And then you can start playing with the numbers. I'm gonna put more money here. Let's see how it goes. Or let me put more money there. Let's see how it goes. You start playing with the numbers, and then you can see what brings you more result or better result. But you have to do both.
Great. So it sounds like you have a pretty good understanding of your marketing. And as soon as you get LSA up, your guys are going to be very, very busy. Now, it's actually a really great segue. I'd love to hear about how you got your first truck and either when is the right time to get your first truck and how did you go about doing that?
Okay, so my case, which might not be the recommendable, like I wouldn't recommend that unless. So I got the first truck right away.
Mhm.
Okay. I was doing some research. I went to some like the popular ones, Ryder, this, and that. So everything was really expensive, especially me as an immigrant, a young credit. So obviously I had some difficulties. And then I got to this one that offered me a good deal, not a high down payment, and the monthly payment was something reasonable. So I did my math. If I have this amount of work and I'm renting trucks, I could basically pay the truck, which is going to be a property of prime movers, instead of be renting trucks. So that was my train of thought. So at the beginning, it was hard because we weren't getting enough jobs, and you still have to pay the truck, you still have to pay the insurance. But maybe in the honor, that also gave me the opportunity to accept smaller jobs. So jobs that you would normally wouldn't take because they're too small. When you're young, you prefer having a happy customer, even though you're not getting a big profit. But that's something or someone that is going to bring you more work in the future. Or that's a review that you can get. And then you slowly start building your community of customers.
Mhm.
Okay. So having a truck, owning a truck gives you the opportunity to do more work because you're not going to rent a truck for $100 to make a profit of $50. But if you have your truck, you might say, like, okay, you know what? This could be part of the budget for Google Ads, for example.
Amazing.
Okay. And then you can start, yeah, building your community of customers, which is super important. A customer that today pay for a job that it was extremely small, but we did a good job, is a customer that is probably going to call you or recommend you to other customers. So you have to see it that way. You have to see the big picture. So if you don't have experience, if you don't have knowledge on how to start, then maybe it's renting a truck at the beginning. Okay. Renting a truck at the beginning because owning a truck comes with a lot of expenses. It's the truck, the monthly payment of a truck, the down payment, the parking of the truck, okay,
That's
the
something a lot
insurance,
of people forget
all these
about.
expenses.
Yeah.
It's expensive. So if you don't have a way to cover these expenses, then it's going to be you burning your budget, your company budget. So if you start by renting a truck, you don't have these expenses. Your profits are going to be slightly smaller, okay, slightly lower, but you are gaining knowledge, you're gaining experience, you're still building your community of customers. You might not be able to accept small jobs, or you can by investing in the renting of the truck. but it's just going to be a different profit margin. Okay. So I would recommend start by renting if you don't have the experience, especially if you don't have the budget. But if you're already with one step inside the market, like let's say you already have customers, you already have a community, you can start with a truck if you do have the budget. It depends on the each person's situation.
Okay. So for most people, likely rent the truck a little bit to begin with, and then when you're ready to pull that trigger, go ahead and add a truck to your fleet. And I think there's a lot of moving company owners who stay too long on just renting
Yeah.
when, like you said, there's a lot of benefits to actually owning your own truck. It allows you some freedoms within the business, which is worth its weight in gold. And you mentioned something that I really liked, which is when you're getting started, or even not when you're getting started, but putting in the hard work and accepting any move, so to say. Now, to some moves we won't accept, but accepting a lot of moves because of the long term picture. A lot of people will say, okay, $150 to move this couch down the street. I need two guys. I'm going to make no money on this. But you understand the bigger picture of this. And I think there's a couple pieces there. You first get a review because you should be getting reviews on most of your moves.
Yeah.
And on top of that, like you said, you're just moving a couch for them now, but a year down the line, they're going to refer you or they're going to need you for the move. And I think that's a really good big picture thinking is not thinking, oh, there's only $150 for this or it's a junk removal or something, but actually thinking big picture and realizing you said it great. This is growing my customer base.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a lot of repeat business?
Oh yeah, for sure. The a happy customer is like a healthy happy customer is good for the business. So in Miami, which is where we're located, people tend to move pretty often, maybe even once a year. It could be inside the same building complex, but it's like they move pretty often. So if you did a good job, moving is so stressful, so stressful. People hate moving. So if you give them a good experience, they're gonna be married with the company. And if you give them a good experience, there's probably someone that had a bad experience with another company, and they're gonna ask this person, "Hey, oh, you moved a month ago, so how was your experience?" "Oh, it was great. These guys are amazing." Blah blah blah, and that person is gonna call you. Usually, they have bad experiences here. Unfortunately, in Miami, a lot of people prefer to pay for the cheap movers, which are the ones that don't show up, the ones that are they don't know what they're doing to save some money. But saving money could means that you're gonna have to pay for some other things.
Yeah.
So you have to find a balance also.
You get what you pay for in the moving
You get what
industry.
you pay
We
for.
know that time and time again. If you pay for the guys who are $60 an hour for two guys, you're going to break your $1,000 TV and you should have
Yeah.
just got the more expensive guys. Now, you have five-star group reviews across the board, I'm pretty sure. I think almost at 150, 200 reviews. How does that look for you to have such a great reputation? How do you build that and how do you go about making sure so many of your clients give you great reviews?
So I think the you have several steps. The first thing is to have a great relationship with your customer, understanding that moving is stressful. So you sometimes might have this stressed customer that might be yelling or whatever without you even moving their stuff because they're just stressed. So you have to understand that they're going through a difficult, could be a divorce, could
Yeah,
be a breakup. So you don't understand what they're going through, but then you can try to make the things as smooth as possible. Don't worry, we're gonna have a team ready for you to get as much information as you can, and then when you're about to dispatch your team, to give them as much information as you can, so your team can be ready. Like, hey, this is, as for example, an ugly breakup, so try not to get in the middle if you see them arguing. Try to handle things properly. So important thing is to have a good relationship with your customer. Okay, be as transparent as possible, which means no hidden fees. Okay.
amazing.
You cannot be telling your customer, hey, this is what I'm offering. And when they're about to pay, oh, this is another thing I didn't tell you, but this is XYZ. Okay. So a lot of companies in Miami have bad reputation, especially the long distance companies
Yeah.
because of the hidden fees. So transparency is super important. And then, yeah, try to make their experience during the move have guys that are friendly, at least respectable, like they can respect the customer. Okay, they don't have to be friendly because they don't have to talk to the customer if you don't want, but at least to be friendly or to be respectful to have respect towards the customer. And then at the end, you move everything. Customer usually is happy, and then you get the review.
Awesome.
And yeah.
And how does that look at the end of the move when everything's been completed successfully? Like you said, you build a lot of trust and rapport with the customer. And I like that you looked at every touch point. It's from the first time you pick up the phone all the way to letting your crew know what's going on. And then at the very end of the move, how do you then, because a lot of people struggle to get reviews, what does it look like at the end of the review and maybe the days following to make sure you get good reviews?
So the way that we do it, so to the movers, the crew lead of
Mhm.
the that particular move, we offer him an incentive.
Mm.
Okay. So you do everything properly, like try to do everything so we can have a happy customer. And when you finish, try to get the review. Obviously, we practice by examples, like for example, before dispatching them, we try to put like, okay, let's see, we have this move and this is happening. How would you manage this? How would you manage that? Okay, try to get the review from the customer. So we practice that. Okay.
Amazing.
So now they are prepared to get the review for the customer. So when they finish, and everything is okay, they'll try to get the review from the customer, and the incentive is we give them a bonus. Okay, so that first, it kind of makes the team to work to do the things properly, because you will see a lot of movers that they're just trying to finish fast. They will be throwing things. I've seen everything. I've seen everything that you can imagine.
I bet.
You know, try to throw things. I just want to go home. Blah blah blah. But when the team knows what they're doing, they're going to protect everything, because at the end, they're thinking about a potential tip, okay, which is pretty common in this industry, potential tip, and to get the review. Okay. Now, if they don't get the review right away, sometimes the customer's like, hey, I'll send it tomorrow. We do give them like some time for the customer to leave the review. If they don't, I'm usually texting with them or calling them after, hey, how was everything? If they don't, then I'll try to contact them myself a couple of days after and try to get the review myself.
Okay, amazing. So make sure the team is incentivized to get not only a review, but also a good tip, which makes sense. And then on top of that, you or someone on your team is following up after the move with your clients to make sure they get a review. That's great. And I actually wanted to touch on this, so I'm glad you brought it up. A players on your team is so important, having a really good team to A, trust, and B, make sure all the moves are fulfilled correctly. How do you get the best guys and how do you keep the best guys?
That's a really good question. So a lot of these guys that are working for Prime Movers right now are guys that I worked with them in the past, so I know them. It's hard to you're only gonna see them. So this is an important aspect, because in this industry, you're gonna see the good apples and the bad apples.
Mhm,
So you have to be really careful. You have to trust in your team, and you are gonna try with some movers that could be like their first move, like, hey, it's an opportunity. So you have to trust your team, because at the end, they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be working with this potential new mover.
mhm.
Okay, so they're going to be able to talk to you. You have to talk to your team and the new mover, the new potential mover after the job. You have to listen to their opinion, because at the end, remember, they want to do a great job because they want to get tip, they want to get a review, and they want more hours.
Gotcha.
Okay, so it's really important for them to have a team that wants the same thing. Okay, so that's how you get a good team, by promoting. For example, my team, they start making this amount of money, and slowly you start giving them maybe more responsibilities, but also more money, also more hours, more responsibilities. Okay. And then you try to bring new people, and they are the ones that are going to tell you this is good, he's bad. So in this industry, as I told you before, I've seen a lot. You have to be flexible for some things, and you cannot be flexible for some other things. Okay? You have to be strict again for some things, and not as strict for some other things. But yeah, I think if you have a good relationship with your team and you see them, I see them every day. Like when we're before going to the jobs, sometimes I just show up there out of nowhere, bringing them some soda, some Gatorade or something, and we're in constant communication. Okay. So I think constant communication, not because I want to be on top of them, like, hey, are you protecting this? But me trying to make sure everything is okay. Hey, like, are you guys going to take a break? Remember to take a break before this, or blah, blah, blah. Or the customer wants this. How's everything looking? So it's a way first to show that I'm there if they need me, and for them to feel that they're not alone. Okay. And so, yeah, that's how you get a good team because you trust each other. Do you understand that both parts are necessary? But again, you have to know who you're working with. It's good about giving opportunities, but you have to see.
So it sounds like you've built a really great support network. They know where to reach you when they need to reach you, and you also get the right people in the right positions. And I think that's the case with any moving team is if the person who's leading it isn't doing a good job, everyone else's standards are going to drop. And if the person who's leading it is doing a great job, they will rise to the occasion. And you made a great point there too, which is that they need to see progression within their job, which makes perfect sense. So you start them off as a brand new person on the team, and they'll be making the lowest amount. And then, depending on how you do it, whether that be certain metrics or a certain amount of time with the business, you give them opportunity to grow. I think that's great to really keep good people. And you touched on something else which I love. You got a lot of good people from your previous company. I think that's something everyone who's watching can learn from is your A players surround themselves with A players. They
Yeah.
might not only be working for your moving company if they don't have enough hours, they might also be working with other moving companies or they have in the past. And they'll be able to tell you this guy is really great, this guy's not great. So, just like you said, you set up a really great line of communication and they'll give you feedback into who's going to be good and who's not going to be good. I actually think we used to do referrals on our moving team. If you refer someone who's a really good mover, we'll give you $50 or $100, something like that. And it's a great way, not only do they already know each other and they've built that rapport, but you're also going to surround yourself with the best people. That's really great.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best methods. In the previous company, they used to do that as well, like a referral fee, a referral bonus. I think that's a great way. And at the end, the team, if you try with someone new or someone could be someone old and they don't like it, they're gonna let you know that, hey, I'd rather if you like don't send me with this person. Then you can come and ask, okay, what don't you like about this person? Well, this person is slow or this person, whatever they can say. And then you can come and talk to the person and see, okay, what's happening? Why do you think you're slow? It could be as simple as like, hey, I didn't have breakfast this morning, like I'm short on money, blah, blah, blah. And it could be as simple as you, for example, getting them some breakfast in the morning, some sneaker bars or whatever, because you don't know at the end what they're going through. And it could be as simple as the person didn't have breakfast and that's why it's working slow, or as complicated as you can imagine. So asking your team what's going on and asking them the person what's going on might open a lot of doors, and then you can go from there. But you do have to do your proper diligence, your proper research.
And I think that makes a really big difference between a good company and a great company is owners or managers who care. Like you mentioned a couple of small things there. At the beginning of a move, you come say hello to your guys beforehand, maybe bring them a Gatorade, some drinks, breakfast, whatever it is. That's not going to add up over the years to your expense sheet. It's not going to be what kills your company, but it actually will be what keeps you around for a really long time. Those small things, I'm sure you've had the same guys for 3 years. They stay with you and they're loyal to you because not only do you pay them, everyone needs a fair salary, but you also take care of them, whether that be emotionally, whether that be small things. And that goes a really, really long way. So I'm happy to see you're doing that. And I'm sure it will pay off tenfold for you as it already has. That's really great.
Yeah, that's the idea, my friend.
Now you're at where you're at currently and business is going really great. In 2 years, 5 years, 10 years time, how do you want prime movers to look?
So short term right now, I am about to do this step to LSA, which I think is going to bring more revenue. By bringing more revenue, by bringing more revenue, I can bring more guys. I can bring a second truck. Okay. So far, what we've been doing is we use our trucks. Sometimes we do have several jobs a day, so we rent. The idea would be to have constant work for us to have two trucks. Okay, so this is in the short term, because again, it's amazing how much business you can bring just by investing in Google Ads. And since I already know also about LSA, It's amazing how it works. No investment in marketing. This investment in marketing, it goes such a so making that important. So having a couple of trucks, investing every time more, then we need to grow our inside team because right now, I even though the movers and the crew lead, they help with a lot of things, I'm basically doing except the marketing part, I'm doing it myself. Okay. So slowly start bringing people so they can help so I can focus on growing different parts of the business. So that's what's coming now. Long, like, I don't know, from 5 years from now, I'm thinking about franchising. Okay. That would be a good way to go. And yeah, so creating tools and a good team so we can a lot of other companies can do the same in different parts of the US, Canada. That would be that's the goal.
That's amazing, and I'm sure you'll get there. I've been watching your journey over the last 3 years, and it's been amazing, not just the footprint you've left in the community, but of course what everyone else says online too. You guys are great at what you do, and as you can tell from this conversation, you care a lot about what you do. So, for everyone watching this, where can they find you if you want to plug your personal Instagram? Where can they find your business? If they're looking to move in the Miami area, how should they best get in contact with you?
Okay, so we have our number, which is let me get it real quick. So our business number it's 786-795-9570. Okay, so they can call that number. Someone is gonna answer that call. We're gonna get your information, and then it will be from there. We'll put you on schedule, and we'll make it happen. Then we have our website, which is primemovers.pro. Okay, that's our website for people to visit us. And then we have our Instagram, which is Prime Movers Miami.
Okay.
Okay, any of those ways are someone's going to answer, someone's going to be there to help. And yeah, that's the best way to contact us. Also, yeah, our Google profile, you search Prime Movers, Moving Company Miami, you're going to see us there in Google.
Amazing. When I upload this to all the different socials, I'll be sure to plug all of those different things. Alejandro is really great at what he does. So if you're in the Miami area or even South Florida, because I'm sure he takes moves all across South Florida, be
Yes.
sure to reach out. Alejandro, thank you so much for joining today. Before I do let you go, I'd love to hear about one either amazing move you've had or a horror story of a move which just went terribly. This can be with prime movers currently, or it can be with the firm you were with before. I'd love to hear about it.
Wow, I've seen a lot of things with the other company. I've seen customers calling to cops because they didn't like the way a mover touched their table, or they thought that we were all illegal immigrants, which is not. Because to be part of a company, you need to show your status. And no, I don't like this guy. Let's call the cops on them. So a lot of bad experience, but you also see a lot of happy customers. A lot of, for example, this is a particular case. We had a move I think it was a couple of months ago, and she just reached out again. She's pregnant, and she said, "I want Eric and I want Salvador because they did an amazing job, and Eric knows how to deal with me. I'm pregnant, so I just want them for my next move, which is going to be next week." So I love happy customers are the best customers.
And that's always so nice to see. When we had our own moving company, you see the same thing is when you really do a good job, they keep coming back and you really build this personal relationship. I've seen a similar thing. We moved a lady who was pregnant and now we're moving her again and we get to see her newborn child,
Yeah,
which is amazing because you build that relationship. And like you said, that client of yours reached out for specifically two guys
yeah,
because of their customer support or customer satisfaction and just
yeah,
because they're doing a good job. And 5 years down the line, you're going to be moving their kids, and then
yeah.
it's a generational thing. So putting in that hard work is really amazing. I wish you all the best for the years to come. I'm sure there's going to be nothing but success. And thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian, for having me. My pleasure to be here, and yeah, happy to be here with you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and tuning in for today's podcast. At Heavy Lifting Marketing, all we do is help moving companies scale. So if you need help with your Google ads, with your SEO, with your GMB optimization, with your LSA, we're the people to go to, and we'd love to help you out. You can find us online at heavyliftingmarketing.com. or through our YouTube channel, our Instagram, our TikTok, reach out to me directly and I'd be more than happy to help.